Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I am Ethan, joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Pete. Hey, Pete, what's up today?
Not much, buddy. How are you?
Everything is good. Everything is great. It is Saturday. Saturday means one thing and one thing only. It is time for, say it with me, stream or skip. We have to work on that, but you get the point. Pete, every week I introduce Stream or Skip, and you give our listeners the 15 to 20 second soundbite of the rules. I will shut my trap and let you explain starting now.
All right. Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows and movies for each other to watch. Every week, we randomly assign each other one of those shows. We watch at least 2 episodes if it's a series, or 30 minutes if it's a feature-length program. And on that basis, we determine if that show or movie is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
Righto. Who should start this week?
I can start. Mine is interesting.
Oh,
Interesting in the sense that I was assigned a show called Culprits, which again, originally a Hulu show, but I saw it on Disney Plus. Again, starting in 2025, our regular listeners will know if it's a Hulu or a Disney Plus show, we're considering it one platform from now.
That's right.
So Culprits is a British show, and it is a heist show.
Oh,
so instantly
intrigued.
You've got me hooked because I love anything to do with heists. And the opening scene is actually pretty good. It's a guy who's getting chased down in a mansion, and he gets shot by a masked man.
Okay.
And then we flash to the next guy in the story, and it's about a father who's in Washington State, and he's living with his husband and their 2 children. And what happens is that you find out that, he's moved to Washington quite recently. He's trying to set up his own business. He's trying to set up a restaurant, but he's facing a lot of, let's say, societal problems, which is a very kind way of saying he's being racially discriminated by, I guess, the townsfolk. So like the community is like, oh, we don't like the fact that you bought this shop. Well, it was on sale for the last 3 years. No one was doing anything with it. And well, we don't like the fact that you're converting it into something that we don't like. What's wrong with the farm to table restaurant, things like that? And he doesn't get the approvals because he's a black guy, maybe because he's a gay guy. Who knows? There's a lot of problems there. But things get interesting because you see him and he's got a massive pile of cash. And it's clear that the guy who got shot in the first scene is somehow related to the guy in the second scene. And obviously, because we know that this is a heist show, we know that he clearly successfully did the heist. And this show does one of those classic things where it's set in the present, but also does a lot of flashback sequences in the past.
Okay.
And this guy, who's now this loving father of 2 children, used to actually work for a mob boss in London. And he gets recruited by Gemma Arterton, who everyone should know.
We do.
Who is planning a heist. And she wants to steal a massive load of cash. And so you put 2 and 2 together. All the people who we've seen who were getting chased by the masked man were members of the heist crew.
Okay.
And he's one of the members of the heist crew. He was dubbed Muscle. And everybody has different jobs, So one of them was called Officer. One of them was called Driver. One of them was called Muscle. It's kind of like Reservoir Dogs where everyone had different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this case, everyone has different occupations.
Or Money Heist. Yeah.
Got it. Or like Money Heist, which the city, with the city names. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's It's
This seems like a
interesting.
strange show from what you've described for Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it kind of makes sense for Hulu, but it's weird
Right.
to see something like this on Disney.
It sounds like a little bit gritty or dark.
That's the weird thing. Is it's
Yeah.
supposed to be gritty. It's supposed to be dark, but it doesn't feel gritty or dark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it feels a bit sanitized. And I think that was the problem I had with the show. Is the production value seems a bit so-so, and it doesn't seem interesting, even though naturally I am attracted to heists. I wasn't super keen on this show.
It's from what you've described, I would call this like Baby Driver. Remember that movie?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of. But clearly there's some question as to who these people have robbed from.
Right.
Clearly there's a question like everyone after this job has successfully happened, they've all split up and gone around the world. So
Yeah.
now he has to get the team back together to figure out who's coming after them and how do they protect themselves. That's the direction it's going. I only saw 2 episodes because, frankly speaking, it just felt like a mooch at best.
Uh,
I'm not,
I thought this would be so up your,
yeah, on paper, it sounds like it should be, but
yeah.
execution, not that great.
Because if you look at IMDb describes it as after a heist, full stop, you're in.
Yeah,
The crew have gone their separate ways, but now they are being targeted by a killer one by one.
yeah,
I was kind of like, oh, I think that's actually your perfect byline for a show, right?
yeah. Again, on paper, it sounds great, but
Yeah.
the actual execution
S-
seems a bit weak. It felt a bit
Something's missing.
sanitized. It just
Yeah.
didn't do anything for me. Again,
Hmm.
I give everything the benefit of the doubt because that's my theme for 2025. I'm gonna give it a mooch. I don't think it's got inherently anything bad about it, but at the same time, it doesn't have anything that's really got me hooked.
Yeah.
Is this something I'd keep on in the background while I was, checking emails or surfing on my iPad? Maybe. But is this something I would kind of close my curtains on, lock the door, and kind of have the lights off and be focused on intently? Definitely not.
The challenge, I think, when you have a story like this is that your characters have to really be compelling
Yeah,
because more or less we all kind of know the outcome, right? I
yeah,
mean, it's not a story that's never been told. It's a story that's being told in a different way. And I think for that to really engage the audience, you need like characters that are really, really compelling and resonate with the audience. And if
yeah,
you don't have that, again, you can just kind of tune it out because you're like, well, okay, I kind of get it. This is what's going to happen more or less, and this is where it will end, you know?
yeah, exactly. So I imagine like all the different members, the surviving members of the crew will get back together. They'll figure out who is chasing after them. They'll set up a trap and they'll
Yeah.
figure it out and they'll stop this guy and they'll get away with it.
And there will be one member of that team who's kind of like the mole. They're kind of the mole, and everyone's going to be shocked. And oh, how did you know this guy? And oh, well, actually, it's my ex something
Yeah.
or another.
Yeah.
And I told them because I had all these gambling debts and I had to pay them off. They've got my daughter hostage or blah, 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 right?
100%. So
Yeah.
it's nothing that you and I haven't either already seen or
Yeah.
couldn't figure out.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Culprits. Disney Plus slash Hulu. Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit sad. I thought it was really going to be something that would resonate strongly with you.
All
All
right.
right, my
So
friend.
this is the one I'm excited for because I think, like Culprits for me, I thought this would be right up your alley.
Yes, if only. So I had The Silent Sea is on Netflix. It is a Korean series. You know, it's a multi-genre sci-fi thriller mystery released in 2024, so it's relatively new, although it takes place kind of in the near future and kind of as always a dystopian world that is suffering from a crippling water shortage.
Okay.
And just a little bit of background. It's Korean, so it's obviously in Korean. And I tried the subtitles. And to be honest, the subtitles I don't love. So then I listened to it dubbed in English, which was, I thought, the better alternative.
Okay.
So I listened to it in English. The basis of the show is while the world is stuck in this terrible drought, the Koreans apparently have a space station on the moon.
Yeah.
And the space station has somehow been doing very important research. It's a little bit fuzzy, but somehow whatever research is up there could solve this water shortage. Okay. Apparently, and again, some of this is intentionally fuzzy, because the show wants to be a mystery, but some time ago, something happened at that lunar station and the entire staff was somehow wiped out. It's not clear exactly what incident or what event happened, but apparently everybody died, and it's now an abandoned or a deserted lunar station. And the Korean government or powers that be have reached out to a new crew. They've got what looks very, very, very much like the American space shuttle or the NASA space shuttle. And they've said, we're actually going to send a team to this lunar station. There is something that we need to recover. So the MacGuffin in this case is three of these very futuristic looking like space canisters. And the crew are intentionally not told what's in them. They make this a mystery, of course. There's a big conference at the Korean Space Association, the KSA, and they're sitting around this big conference room table. And there's very impressive graphics and diagrams of the space station. And someone makes a point and says, what's in the MacGuffin? And of course, the senior officials demur the question or just say it's not your business or whatever. So we're left like with this heightened sense of what could it be, right?
Yeah.
Is it the secret molecule that can multiply water? Is it a deadly virus? We're just not sure, but there's three of these canisters, apparently. They're spread throughout the lunar base, and they need to at least retrieve one of them.
Okay.
So far, it's not so bad. It's pretty basic. I wouldn't say it's neither good nor bad. It's, just kind of leading up. We try to meet all the different characters. And here's my side tangent. I feel that Korean television has become very popular, and in some ways, justifiably. But I feel like their character development almost always is really weak and almost cartoonish. They've got the very arrogant, space shuttle pilot. They've got the very bookish, female researcher. They've got the very macho, this dude, there's another lady on the flight and she's very, kind of, I don't know what it would say, acts like kind of like a social media influencer, like very flashy and what I'm trying to say is that their characters are just very myopic and not really deep. And I feel like that's kind of like a quality of Korean television. So anyway, we get to be introduced to all the characters, and they've all got their things. They are flying to the moon. There's no mention in the show of any other country, by the way. There's no like American base or EU base or Chinese base. It's all about the Koreans.
Okay.
Something happens with their space shuttle, and they do a crash landing. They escape from the shuttle. The shuttle, falls down a cliff and is destroyed. So they've got to kind of walk the remaining 7.6 kilometers. That's the exact amount. They were precise about it. 7.6 kilometers to the lunar base. Of course, they don't have any food or oxygen. They don't
They
have any
have enough
shelter.
for 7.5 kilometers or something.
Yep. So they all barely make it. They're all
Yeah.
exhausted. Does the code work? The code doesn't work. Then they finally get the code to work. They get inside, they depressurize. It's all very fine. I know that there's intended to be a lot of drama. It did not feel at all dramatic, you
Okay.
know? And through all of this, the sci-fi is fine. It's a little bit like For All Mankind. It wasn't really CGI, but like, the space scenes for All Mankind, when they're on the moon or when they're like in a spaceship or something.
Right.
It was fine, right? It
Okay.
wasn't incredible, but it was like just fine graphics, fine, images of, their space shuttle or the crash or the moon or them kind of bouncing on the moon. All of it was fine. It wasn't like, wow, like the gadgets on their spacesuits, once they get into kind of the airlock, all of it was fine,
Okay.
you know? I mean, it's not a criticism. It's just not it didn't blow me away like, oh, this is super new or this is fantastic production value or, oh, it's so cool how they plugged their suit into this to recharge. It was all very decent, like no complaints. The show absolutely could have stood on its own 2 feet. The technology and the sci-fi-ness didn't get in the way of the story, but it also wasn't like for geeks that you're like, oh man, like I never thought of that, right? So anyway, they get into the airlock, they get into the space station. Of course, they power it up and they come across a few of the dead bodies of the old staff. And again, it's the running mystery of, well, what happened here?
Yeah.
We weren't really told, the air quality is fine. We don't detect any pathogens or viruses. You can take your helmets off. We're just not sure how anyone died. It kind of looked like they drowned, but that's not possible. Just kind of like trying to enhance the mystery of what happened here. Okay.
Is this scary at this moment, or is this just
Not really, although you wouldn't be surprised if like something jumped out of somewhere. It's more of the flashlight is being swung around and then it falls, like the beam comes across, like some guy in the corner who's obviously dead, kind of full of like cobwebs and dust, but it's not like a grotesque jump scares or things like that.
okay?
Anyway, the group splits up, the drill, they're all going for their different things. And then you kind of start to know that there's a little bit of politics being played. So one of the K astronauts, we find out that, her sister was actually at the base. So she's a little bit compromised that she wants answers. She wants to find out what happened there, right? The
Right.
mission for her is second. She wants to find out what actually happened to everyone. She kind of goes on her own way. One of the pilots, he's actually got like a special instruction from,
Of course.
the Korean Space Association. He's got to go off and he's got to get this special thing. Someone else is, just, wants to get like some cool pictures and they're joking around, so they go their special way. Everyone just kind of goes their own special way. And then you start to see that then this is where, so up until this point, it's pretty bland, I have to say. I mean, I would probably say it was a skip just because there wasn't really anything interesting going on, but I'm like, okay, look, we've been an episode and a half, 2 episodes, nothing really amazing, but it's not horrible. And then things started to get like a little bit weird where clearly all of the people in the lunar base died of some type of, let's call it a virus, right?
Okay.
They're somehow zombies, and I expect that either they're going to come back to life because we've seen a few things that like indicate, like some flashlights have been stolen, some who's rummaged through my bags, kind of stuff like that. And then you see one of the guys, trips and he falls on a dead corpse slash zombie, and you see like these little micro or nano beads like kind of transferred from the guy's skin to the guy, and you can tell like he's going to be infected. He's sweating a lot, like weird discharge is coming out of his ear. Clearly he's going to be infected and he's either
Right.
going to die or he's going to bite everybody else or something or another is going to happen. So that's 2.5 episodes in. I turned it off. I was tired. It was late. And to be honest, I wasn't getting anywhere with here. And now it came, I guess, after that guy was infected, the realization is this is going to turn out to be a zombie slasher film.
Right.
It's no longer about the sci-fi. The sci-fi is the
Just the
setting.
setting.
or the theme.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, you and I are always up for a good lunar-based show, but it's not like The Expanse, right? Like The Expanse was such a good sci-fi show because of, the technology and the instrumentation and the concepts that they presented, right?
Yeah.
Like equally good to the story was just the idea of the space information that we got from The Expanse. Whereas the Silent Sea, I think, is, I wouldn't say the opposite, but it's nowhere near that level. Like I'm just not getting any excitement or enthusiasm from being in the space station itself. It's very, I don't want to say generic, it's just fine. It's kind of what you would expect a abandoned lunar station to look like. There's some fancy kind of like, lights on the ceiling and on the walls. There's an instrumentation panel with a lot of glowy buttons. You know, everything is kind of shaped like, a pentagon, right? Like the doors, kind of interlock. It's all fine, but it's definitely not enough for a sci-fi fan to watch only for that element. The mystery itself, again, I think is really dull. If this is going to morph into a zombie film, I'm out like immediately. And the characters for me are just all too over the top. The characters are not there. I haven't seen like any romance. There's no real camaraderie. There's a lot of characters as well. I think it's probably like a crew of maybe 8. So you know that a bunch of them have to die or be wiped out eventually, right? And we've only gotten to know kind of like 4 or 5. So I mean, it seems like there's 3 that are easily going to be eaten or devoured, and it's not going to matter. So that's my long-winded explanation of the Silent Sea. The Silent Sea is actually made after the Sea of Tranquility, which is a
I
real
figured
thing,
as much. Yeah.
which is a thing on the moon, right? Which is cool. It would have been cooler if they would have like somehow worked that in a little bit more to the story, but they did not. I gave this a skip. I'm not going to feel bad about it. It's just not great from a storytelling perspective, not great from a sci-fi perspective. There's really nothing here to it. If you speak Korean and you really want to listen to a native Korean sci-fi show, maybe this is for you, but the mystery is not there, the thriller is not there, and the sci-fi aspect is not there for me. So I must give this a skip, which, Pete, this is not good. I think that's my 3rd skip of the year. Help me out next week, dude.
All right. So let's see if we can fix that. Next week, you are on Apple TV Plus, so there's a positive.
Yes.
You're watching a drama called Lady in the Lake, starring Natalie Portman.
Oh, I love Natalie Portman. Okay.
So fingers crossed that's good.
Yep.
And I am on Max watching a show called The Sympathizer.
Next week, we come back and we're watching The Sympathizer on Max. I've got Lady in the Lake on Apple TV Plus. And let's see if we can get some diamonds in the rough with one of those 2, huh?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Pete, before we say our goodbyes, why don't you shout out our Instagram, YouTube creds so that folks can ring the bell, give us a thumbs up, and ask some questions or make some suggestions.
Absolutely. You can tweet at us at FNS Podcast. You can DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. But as always, the best thing you can do, like this video, leave a comment below, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell.
Could not have said it better myself. Pete, thank you for participation today. Participation, Pete. Listeners, thanks for listening to us. We appreciate your comments, feedback, and agreements or disagreements with the Silent Sea and Culprits. Okay, we'll see you guys next week on the next episode of the Films and Stuff podcast. Bye now.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.